All right, we're just going to have to do this, and I think we're going to make up a little bit of time later on. Let's go ahead and do the discussion. Yeah, Barry.
I wanted to ask, especially Peter, and all of you, maybe if you think about this vision, this big idea, with all of this enormous amount of data that could be built up, is it not possible to imagine in the future a joint project involving very large numbers of scholars and to create a kind of computer-based modeling system where all of this will be visualized, and you can use a computer model to access the data to create patterns that you can see, and you can watch them move. I mean, the scale is the whole planet, and it's like it's a global history computer modeling, and you can use color codes to see centers, peripheries, complexity. You can show, and you can take any particular theme. Yeah? Urbanization, empire formation.
Turchin's been.
Yeah, you can see it all
yeah.
happening, and students can then click on a link and see more data.
Exactly. And that's where we're going.
Yeah,
so,
super program in the future.
Exactly. That's where I think we should be going. The question is basically persuading the society to fund. However, just one short addition. So Chris, for example, asks, is 5% okay? Or maybe it should be 2% or 10%. Once we have this system in place, anybody can put in 2%, 5%, 10% and see what comes out, and use maybe even objective ways to see, to actually determine which of this, like cross-validation that I was talking about. You can use cross-validation to tell you what should be that threshold, but it requires that data. And
Victoria?
Yes.
Yeah, my question is also for Peter. Multiple imputation. You presume again the amount of data. We do have a lot, but I'm very nervous because you have to presume that how you can fill in the missing data is that what you have, the available data actually are reliable. And the reason I'm stuck with the China data is that they're not. So if the existing figures you have basically are just really figures of magnitude, you can't even really trust them, even if you actually can even trust today's China data. But when we were talking about 7,000 years ago, they're not reliable. So how do you...
Exactly. So what multiple imputation does for you, it presents the uncertainty. Because that's why you have to do it multiple times. Each time you will actually get very different imputed values because you're sampling from the stochastic regression process. Right? So in each of the imputed data set, it will be different. And the less you know about your problem, the more wildly variable all these imputed values will be. So when you actually summarize it by looking at what they mean and how much uncertainty is around it, it will reflect. And statisticians have shown that it's actually an unbiased estimate, not only of what you want to know in terms of the mean, but it's also an unbiased estimate of how much variance, how little you know, or how much you know. So it sounds like magic, but it is an accepted technique in statistics, and it actually does work. It's not going to create new data, right? So if you have poor data set, lots of missing values, you will at the end you will have an answer with huge error bars which is going to tell you nothing. So it's not going to create knowledge out of nowhere, but it will use what knowledge you have in the most efficient way.
So a prime motivation for this workshop is to move towards coordination systems so that different databases can be tied in together.
Exactly.
Well, actually, what bothered me a bit in Peter's presentation is that complexity score for Italy in 18th century turned out to be less than Italy in the first century common era, which looks that something wrong is happening. That something is missing because the huge advances in finance, huge advances in technology. Romans had no proper budget. Italy had proper budget at that time. So my impression is that there might be some serious errors in budget in the current design, so they should be detected and corrected, because at present it looks not convincing.
Because you were seeing the first principal component. In the second principal component, which actually captures that aspect of complexity, right? Remember, it's negative, right? So the Rome comes out high because it was huge empire, lots of population and everything. Second principal component captures that other side, and so you will see that.
Which just a few percent, so or 83% does not capture, and just 4% captures. So there is something wrong happening.
Since you,
I have two very short questions. The first one is the devil's advocate question to Peter. When I heard it, I haven't read it, it sounds a little bit like you're using a set of criteria to define complexity, and those are the criteria which define complexity, which is something tautological about the whole thing. So is this an exercise in definition, or is it, because you're talking about predictive values, and it seems to me the predictions are really about the definitions and not about another empirical reality outside of it. The second question is to David. It's really short, and I'm sure he's covered it. And that is the Central Asia barrier. What about the Silk Road? And what the Silk Road? I mean, there's, as far as I know, there's a gigantic amount of exchange that goes through Central Asia. That's what Gunnar Frank started to write about a long time ago. And you seem to be blocking it off, maybe because those polities aren't interesting enough. But after all, the Mongols came from there, and so I'm wondering how do you fit that in?
I think we're going to have a coffee time conversation.
and you need a break translation. There was another.
Yeah. I'm writing my dissertation on India and China. The question I'm facing, and you can guide me on that, is that when I come across data, for example, GDP, in the history we do not have facts, and particularly when we look at India, for example, 200-300 years back, the reliability question has been raised by the committee members. So, in simple words, can you guide me whether your data or your whatever you are doing this will help me and students like me to be certain to an extent that okay, through this system we can have some kind of data that will help us.
Yeah, we would love to throw the power of this approach to GDP, because Angus medicine, made all kinds of, very thinly, So I think we can do it by breaking things up in many different dimensions, all right? And also using this approach when you have to treat missing values and disagreements explicitly. But we have been unable to get funding so far. So it all depends on us actually getting funded on this issue. Sorry to be so mercenary.
You never answered Friedman's first question about the circularity and the definition.
Yeah. So yes, I mean, remember what I was talking about is it's basically a measurative thing. We want to measure what social complexity is, all right? And then we have a variety of theories. We published a paper in Cliodynamics, for example, a year ago, where we have all the different hypotheses that explain this evolution of social complexity, such as intensity of agriculture, intensity of warfare, rituals, religion, and things like that. So, but the first thing you want to have, what is there to explain, and that's what the first principle component is about. However, it's very important to do all that intermediate stuff to understand that you're getting something real out. And our explicit strategy in actually capturing, it's actually tautological. But it's tautological in a good way. It means that basically, if you have a missing value of population of the largest settlement, right? But you have some other data on some other aspects which are closely related to it. Then you actually can capture what social complexity was, especially for archaeologically known polities, for which we have much more limited data. So it is tautological in a good way because it allows. This is what really allows us to fill in the missing values, I would argue.
Listen, really, we better have a little coffee break here. I think we do need one, and then we're going to start again. It's the time is 10:10 now, so if we can start in 15 minutes at 10:25, and you can bring your coffee back here. But let's be back in the room by 10:25. Thank you.
First session.